My name is Tyriece Simon,
I'm Elijah Jones. How you doing?
and this is MMA Renegade. Here to recap UFC Fight
Woohoo!
Night 158, Vancouver, Cowboy versus Gaethje. Elijah, how you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. It was good. It was a good card actually. I was very surprised. These are the cards that we don't expect them, or at least they kind of we see the matchups and we think, oh, those are good fights, and then we see the fight live, and then like they're great. So
Right,
it was a good fight card. I'm feeling good. I'm still up currently doing homework for my chemistry class, so there's that. How about you? How are you tonight?
man. I'm doing all right, man. It's like yourself. It's been a long day. Got off of work, and then went straight to put the fight on. Is exactly when prelim was on when Louis Smoke was fighting. Which what a great fight.
Impressive,
Uh,
but we'll get into that later.
yeah, and yeah, man. It's been a long day. Got off of work. You're just getting out of school, still doing homework
Still
late at
doing
night.
homework.
Man, I miss those days.
Man, listen, man, ain't nothing like not doing no homework, yo. I miss that. It
Yeah,
is,
man.
it is crazy.
Before
But
we go
yeah,
any before we go any further, for future references, please subscribe in the channel under Sideline YC. That's our channel still now. Please share and please also leave your comments. Let us know what you think, and we'd love to say it on there.
I just want to say we usually won't. We were thinking about new ideas, and this is one of the ideas that Tyrese and I were talking about. Was it's starting to maybe do some type of podcast here or type of shows right after the UFC events end, and so I guess we're testing that out for tonight.
Yeah, man. And we already got our first comment. Thanks for posting it in. Flathead politics. Gaethje is a beast. Yes, he is.
I mean, that man, that what, not man, I don't know who that person is, but that person is right. I
Yes,
won't assume the gender, but that person is right. Gaethje, I mean, different kind of animal. Different kind of animal.
different kind of animal. We're gonna talk about it. So let's start there. Justin Gaethje beats Cowboy Cerrone by TKO 418 in the first round. Man, I texted you this when the fight was announced and before the fight. It's like this may
Mhm.
be a little bit too soon for Cerrone, and I think we kind of got that answer.
I agree and I disagree because
Really?
he's always been the guy who has back to back fights. I think at this point in his career he's trying to get as many fights as he can in before he
Right.
actually decides to retire. Now I agree. The last fight was a little over 2 months ago. No,
Dude, the
uh,
last fight was in I believe June.
June, and we're in August now.
Yeah.
I think it's a little soon. It's a little soon, depending on getting knocked around and having a 2 round war with Tony Ferguson. I think Cowboy, but that's always Cowboy style is to get back in there and try to tame the horse that if he fell off on, tame it. If not, keep riding that win streak. I do think that maybe this could have been one of the cases where he came back too soon. But I mean, the guy's always ready to go, so it's a question. It's not just that question of so was it too soon? It's also just how good is the opponent he's going against. And with Gaethje, that's the issue. So if this a moment where Cowboy wasn't his fullest, and Gaethje capitalized. I mean, he capitalized. Like, there's no other way to put it. Gaethje got the job done. So I mean,
By the
I
way,
don't know.
Flathead Politics says I'm a male and Gaethje is going to be a problem for Khabib, my friends. You know what? I
Tyrese,
agree.
wait, Tyrese. Who told you that Gaethje was going to be a problem for Khabib? Who said it?
I
Who
agree, man.
told you this? Who made this point? And you was like, I don't know just yet. Who made this point to you, Tyrese? Don't play with me. You know
Well,
who
no,
did it.
listen. Sometimes you get something right. I think
Sometimes
sometimes you get something
I
right.
want to say 50%. You're 60%. Can we agree on that?
We can agree on that. We can agree
I
on
mean,
that.
that don't add to 100, but if we're talking about in ourselves and like 100% of whatever we talk about,
Right.
50% I'm right, 60% you're right. I'll give you that. Can you give me that?
I can give you that.
All right.
And to be honest with you, one of the things I see from Gaethje is he's you think about it as this wild fighter, this fighter that goes in there and just attacks like the Michael Johnson fight or even the Dustin Poirier fight a little bit to a
Hmm.
degree. But he seems to be slowing it down a lot and really taking his time, and you see the results. He's actually being a way more precise in his strikes, and the power of Gaethje is always going to be a problem.
I think you're right. That forward pressure with picking your shots, but still throwing just enough so that way you can hurt somebody. I think I mean, that Gaethje was always there. I think
Right.
what the other part of Gaethje is just that he does like to excite and throw on good fights. And like he says, like in the vignette before the actual fight today, it said, He's like, I'm gonna go in there. Either I'm gonna get knocked out, or I'm gonna knock the other guy out. And so I think that's just his mentality is like, I'm not stopping. And so that's what makes him such a good fighter. I think also he tends. I don't know if we talked about this earlier. The
Mm,
way he throws his hooks, or I guess haymakers, are just they're different. You don't see a lot of guys throwing them, or a lot of fighters throwing them the way he does. And that's how he caught Edson Barboza off that knockout, was by throwing that haymaker and caught him with the cross, and it just was beautiful. And I noticed that during the fight, when Cowboy tends to dip a lot, and Cowboy does tend to go down and pop
right,
up and try to spring forward with a 1-2 or lead to combinations. What he would do is he would either throw uppercuts, or he would throw these like haymaker type crosses, and it was just they were landing. That was the
right.
issue. They were landing on the button most of the time, not all the time, because Cowboy was able to get out of the way of a few. But once I saw that he was connecting, I was like, "Ooh, he can't take too many more of this." Because Gaethje, besides the wrestling, he has the power. That much we know. This man has the power.
You're right, and I want to read what Flathead Politics says. And thank you for commenting in the YouTube
Okay,
section.
shout out to
Uh,
you. Go ahead.
he said Gaethje is way too quick for Khabib. Khabib is probably thinking, "Oh damn, that's if Khabib makes it past Tony." You're right. That Tony versus Khabib fight is gonna be interesting to see how Khabib does with that. And he also says you guys need to put your hashtags in the title. You're right. We're still learning on the job. We did
Can we just go
about
ahead
four
and give a
episodes
shout
so
out
far.
to this guy?
Yeah,
This
man.
guy's. I appreciate you, one, for watching the show, but two, for giving positive feedback. Not feedback that could, that's just out of the blue, but things that actually help enhance what we're talking about. So, plus up.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And we always trying to get better. We always trying to get
Yes,
better at this thing.
yes.
And he said good commentary, so I appreciate that as well.
Thank you, thank you. Another thing that was interesting about this fight, did Gaethje look bigger to you?
I didn't notice that in the fight, but I gotta go back and watch it.
Go watch back. Gaethje, he looked like he came in a little bit bigger for this fight. I'm sure he's
Mm.
still within the 20% body. After you
Yeah,
make weight, I'm pretty sure he's still within that 20 percentile of actually gaining the weight back. But
right.
something was different in Gaethje, and I think it was after the Dustin fight where we saw that click of the switch. I don't know. Tell me if you've recognized this, but his fights are no longer I'm going. I mean, they are still going out there. I'm going to try to break you down, but that I'm going out there to knock you out. I'm going to put that pressure and knock you out. And it's a little bit like the championship mentality he had when he was back in World Series of Fighting.
Yeah, and I love the leg kicks he started out with. He started with the leg kicks
Oh,
just to get the timing down, and from there, even when he got on the inside, he just throw these sharp hooks on the
oof.
inside, and to me, it was just only a matter of time to how long could Cerrone could withstand it, and you know, it didn't
Now,
it, it didn't go that far.
it didn't go that far. Now, what was interesting about the leg kicks is Donald Cerrone, after they were adding up, the damage adding up, but then he started checking them.
Right,
And the way he was checking them, he would hold his leg up, hold it off to a 90-degree angle. That's the way you're taught to check leg kicks when you're a fighter. So he was
right.
holding it up, balancing on one leg, doing good. I think the issue is that Gaethje was just able to get on the inside and land these hooks and these uppercuts, and just these like weirdly they're not weird time shots because they don't look like they're off timing or like weird, but like if you look at the way he throws them, it's just so unique to his fighting style. Like you don't see other guys throwing punches like that.
No, you don't. No, you
You
don't. And want to shout out to Flathead Politics again. He said, "Thanks, fellas. You guys are doing well, very professional and knowledgeable." And he said, "Yes, the leg kicks were going to be an issue." Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Well, leg kicks. We like Daniel Cormier always says this when Justin Gaethje fights. Justin Gaethje has some of the best leg kicks in the game, and you don't expect that from a guy who's always touted as a Division One wrestler with all these wrestling accolades and things like that.
Which he
You,
never
you
uses.
which I don't think he's ever been put in a position where he's had to. That's the interesting part. I
Yeah.
mean, you don't see this guy using it, and I'm sure he's still working on it. But this guy, he just doesn't have the need to use the wrestling, and that's why I've always been an advocate for saying, I'm telling you, if he had a chance to fight Khabib, it'd be a different game. It'd be a different game.
I'll tell you what, I'm definitely more interested in seeing the Khabib fight now than after this fight. I'll tell you
I
that much.
agree. I agree. I think if Tony can't get it done, I truly think Justin Gaethje should get a shot. And that's the issue with the lightweight division now. Because if Tony doesn't do it, I don't think if Khabib wants to pursue that GSP fight, he's
Yep.
going to pursue that fight, and he has all means to do it. He's on like an 11 or 12 fight win streak. So at that moment, it's like I just beat the greatest guy who you said was the guy to beat me, who's on an 11 fight win streak. I get what I want now. So I don't know if that, even if he does beat Tony, I don't know if that match comes to fruition. And that's the hardest part about the scenario we have going on.
It is. I want to ask you something, right? Let's look at the rankings. Tony Ferguson obviously is ranked number 1. Dustin Poirier, as of right now, is ranked number 2. Number 3 is Conor McGregor still. Number 4, Don Cerrone. Justin Gaethje is ranked number 5. He just beat Don Cerrone.
So he's probably going to 4 by Monday, if we're being honest.
Absolutely. Al Quinton is ranked number 6. Paul Felton number 7. Kevin Lee still number 8. Edson Barboza is number 9. Anthony Pettis is number 10. Here's my question: why is Conor McGregor still ranked number 3?
Well, I think that the government's trying to get Conor back in the UFC. Now, just it's very interesting because Conor's inactivity has been since last year?
Yes.
Since last year. We've seen guys who've had inactivity for less than that sometimes. Less than that get kicked off the rankings, right? I think Conor, I think with the year coming to an end, I think they're going to keep Conor at the 3 because if Conor, this is the point we've made in the last video, if they were to give Conor a title shot, his ranking would technically justify the title shot.
Which I agree. I think that's the reason why too.
I think that's the only logical conclusion is that his ranking as a number 3 lightweight in the world would justify him getting a title shot in the event that Tony and Khabib can't happen. That's the only thing that makes sense.
My only problem with that, it kind of jams up the division a little bit, right? Because who's Justin Gaethje fight next, right? Is he number 1 contender, or is Conor number 1 contender after Tony Ferguson?
It's interesting. That's my brother. I know. I wrote Gaethje. He said he saw it. No, that's the most interesting part about this division now, right? Is because you have the top 5 is so locked right now that it's impossible. With Conor at 3, you're right. With Conor out of the equation, you have that slot for movement and things like that. But because Conor is there, you have this locked division. You have the number 1 guy who just the former interim champ just lost to Khabib, correct? But he's beaten everybody but Conor McGregor and Tony Ferguson, which means that he's beaten everybody from the number 5 spot and down, correct? Because Gaethje is 5. He's beaten most of the people from 5 and lower. So now you can't have Poirier fight Gaethje again because they recently just fought. You could if you wanted to. I doubt both of them wanted it. Gaethje did say on air though one time that he said he wanted to get the rematch and prove that he could beat him. I don't know if that's going to happen. Most likely not. If we're being honest with you, I think the most probable cause for Gaethje is to wait and see when this Tony fight is made. If this Tony fight is made by the end of the year, then we possibly have a possible fight for Gaethje. I think a possible fight for Gaethje being the number 1 contender. We could make that argument, right? Or with the other route that UFC may proceed is give Gaethje to Conor, and that'd be his rematch. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think with the lockdown at 1 through 5, I just don't see what happened. What do you think? I'm sorry, nothing. And I'm babbling here.
No, I think you make good points. And I want to also say what Flathead Politics said. He says, I think the ability to draw an audience plays a small role in the rankings. Also, I could be wrong, though. You know what?
You're 100% right. Why is Conor still at 3? That's the issue after 1 year of inactivity. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's done amazing things in sport, but you could raise the question as to why he's still at 3 after not fighting for 1 year. And Conor's one of the biggest draws in UFC history. So, I mean,
Gaethje is one of the strongest fists in UFC.
Yeah, Gaethje is a powerhouse. My brother loves Gaethje. He also he started the Khabib versus Gaethje movement.
I'm not. I used to be a little bit against that. I just did.
Did.
I didn't really see it.
I brought it up a lot. I told you, it's the man. The man's good. The man's good. He's talented.
He has attempted 0 takedowns in all of UFC.
That man is just pure hands. That's just it. Pure hands and violence.
I'm gonna say, Flathead Politics. Tell me who you think Justin Gaethje fight next. I'm interested to see what your thoughts on that as well.
Again, thank you for commenting.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep sticking around. Here's my thing now, right? So Justin Gaethje, obviously you can't fight Dustin Poirier. You can, but I don't see that happening. The Conor McGregor fight, I don't know if that happens. If Conor McGregor wants to come back and make a statement, that'd be a perfect person to fight against. Who's next in line? Obviously, after Tony Ferguson at this point.
It's a hard one. It's a hard one to say. And then you have all these guys who are also fighting between the numbers of 6 through 15. We have Dan Hooker fighting Al Iaquinta on the same card as is it the same card as
Adesanya,
Israel Adesanya, and then you have Edson Barbosa, who just came off a fight with Paul Felder, and they may be looking at a possible rubber match.
Yeah.
So that locks those two up. Could you tell me who's between
Barbosa
8 and 10? You said Anthony Pettis is probably going to be out for a while because he just broke his foot. Oh no,
Yeah.
sorry. I think he opted not to get surgery. I think that was one of the headlines I was reading. I could be wrong, but I'm gonna have to look that up again and bring that back on the next show. But
No, I think you're right. I think you're right on
he
that.
opted not to get surgery and wanted to heal in a different way. Who's number 9 and who's number 10? Who's number 9 and number 8?
Number 8 is Kevin Lee, and number 9 is Barbosa, who may do the rubber match with Paul Felder, and then you have number 10 is Anthony Pettis, and then 11 is Gegard Gillespie.
And then who's 12? Who's 12 through 15?
I mean, I didn't put that down here, but I don't see Justin Gaethje fighting anybody below a top 5. Honestly,
that's the thing. That's the thing about this. It's you have these younger guys who could possibly fight Gaethje, but those are high risk, low reward situations.
Correct. Yeah.
Those are very high risk, low reward situations. And so what I think is the most, not the safest, but I mean, I guess you would have to say the safest route of action for Gaethje is to not fight. Not fight.
Yeah.
Remain silent. Be that guy that they always say, well, he deserves it next if this fight falls through.
You do.
That's just it.
And Flathead Politics says next winner of Khabib and Tony. So yeah, I think I agree with that. Unless Conor fights.
And the only way that Gaethje gets skipped over is if Conor is brought back into the situation, signs the contract, and begins the training.
The next fight is either Gaethje and Poirier or Poirier and Conor.
Gaethje's my brother brings up Gaethje versus Poirier, but I feel like that's like the third possible fight that'll happen. That's not the immediate. I think 1, Poirier is going to take the time off, and 2, Gaethje is going to take the time off. But the quick knockout, don't get me wrong, he's ready to go back. I can believe he's ready to fight again because nothing probably happened, or if he had an injury, he did really well at hiding it. But the reality is, this is the moment where you sit back and now you reassess, because now either you're one fight away, like one solid fight away from title contention, or what we as some fans believe, you are at title contention, which means that now you just wait for the title match, whatever is going to be set, to clear up.
Yeah. You're right on the money. You're right on the money with that. Let me ask you this though. So Justin Gaethje, his future is a little murky at this point. We say he may be next in line for a title shot after Khabib and Tony. Conor may be in the mix. Who knows that if they have Conor versus Gaethje in the meantime, that whole situation is going to be a little bit murky. But also situation is going to be murky a little bit as well as Cowboy.
Yeah.
I don't know what is next for Cowboy at this point. This year we talked about Cowboy, the rise of Cowboy, and how this seems to be his year. He started off the year beating Alex Hernandez by TKO in January, the first UFC ESPN card.
Strong fight.
Yeah, and then he beats Al Iaquinta in May by decision.
Strong fight.
Then he loses to Tony Ferguson by TKO in June, and now he loses Justin Gaethje TKO today. My thing with Cowboy is he's always on the cusp of greatness and always on the cusp of being the title contender, winning the championship or having an opportunity, and just Cowboy being Cowboy takes fights that he probably doesn't need to take, or fights that he shouldn't rush into, and he loses, and now, instead of talking about the rise of Cowboy and think of this, Cowboy was looking to be where Jorge Masvidal was supposed to be today now. Like, Cowboy was on the rise of being this breakout. Well, he's always was a star, but this superstar.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry not to cut you off, but even if looking at the the vignettes and like the production and looking at the marketing that went behind this, it was mostly directed towards Cowboy. Yeah. If you really look at it, I mean, I love the guy, but he did have a lot of like a lot of the segments and things like that were about Cowboy. So like you're right, that's a very big part that played into this. Like he was poised to be the next big star of the like, and it's not like it's like a bad thing. It's just that's just what happened because he's a great fighter, puts on exciting fights. He signs to fight whenever UFC wants him. He'll take the fight. So, but like that's that in its own right you're right is a double-edged sword. And because you're doing that, you have to understand whether or not the fights that you're taking are either hurting or helping you, or are you getting enough time to prepare for them? And that's a really good point, Tyreece. I do agree with that.
Let me also shout out to Flathead Politics. He said, guys, keep this up for every fight, please. Awesome content. Start DM some fighters and get one of them on your show. I hope to see you guys grow. Listen, we appreciate you, Flathead
Thank you,
Politics.
brother.
We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We love the feedback. We love that you're you're part of the show right now. You're part of the show. You're giving us your feedback on who's next for Justin Gaethje. And we appreciate you.
I think the most important part is that us as fans really just tell what we think. We're not fighters, but like what I mean. We study and watch the sport as much as the people who analyze it. So it's just a platform to give a voice to those people who like MMA. That's all.
Exactly. Let me ask you this: Cowboy is 36 years old, and Flat Politics. He can also comment on this as well. Do you think it's time for Cowboy to retire?
Now, in my heart, because I know I've survived an EA Sports UFC 3 game, I have survived some brutal beatdowns with Cowboy to come back and win. To win, Tyreece.
Right.
My heart tells me no, right? He should not retire. But I think he should not. I want to know how many. This is my scenario with this. I want to know how many fights he has left on his contract. And I think once he's done with his contract, I don't think he should resign. I think he should finish out the rest of the fights on his contract, get these big fights. And if, now with these big fights, right, what we can do is we can put him against some people, give him a big name. And it's possible that these big fights may put him back into title. He did lose to Gaethje, who was a big name, but it's a super competitive fight. But if Gaethje made a mistake, Cowboy would have capitalized on it as well, So this could have just been this. I think this is one of those matchups where it could have been easily just the other way. It could have easily been the other way. So I don't think he should retire. I think he finishes out his contract and then he retires for however many X amount of fights he has. I don't think this is Cowboy's last fight. I don't think it is. I don't think he should stop after this. Is what I'm basically saying. What about you?
Well, I want to read what Flathead Politics. First, he said he subbed. Thank you. We appreciate you. Again, you're awesome. You're awesome, by the way. And the other viewer that's on here, please comment as well. We'll hear your comments throughout the show. He said though CTE should maybe be a concern for Cerrone, even though he wasn't KO tonight. Well, I mean, he took a lot of shots, and I thought the stoppage was great by the referee. Well, here's the thing. I thought the stoppage, the referee was going to stop the fight, and then Gaethje stopped, and then the referee didn't know what to do afterwards, and it was a debacle there. But I think, CTE plays a big factor, and him fighting multiple times in a year and coming back after brutal fights, that plays a big problem.
Yeah. That's one of the things you worry about with fighters who do have as many fights as Cerrone has, because I think he has the record for the most fights in the UFC. Does he have?
So.
He has the records for the most fights. And don't get me wrong, he has been knocked out before, but the majority of his fights, he doesn't take as much damage. Now, when we talk about now, he has been getting into wars because this is just fact for most divisions. After you get to the top 5, the fights are either wars or your wars where you're going the full 25 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever, or you're knocking each other out or doing, and that's what's happening with Cowboy. He's getting into war after war. So I do worry. I would say personally, take the time off. Take the time off. Reevaluate again where you are at in life. You have nothing else to prove. You are, without a doubt, a Hall of Famer. Without a doubt, a future Hall of Famer for UFC. I think you should take the time, reassess. If he has 2 fights left on his contract, I would say maybe just one more fight as a fan. But I wouldn't be upset if he walked away after this fight. I wouldn't be upset. But I just don't think the person he is, I don't think he would.
No, and he said he would. He said in a post conference he wasn't gonna post fight speech. He said he wasn't gonna retire. But just look at the rankings. I'm just it's hard to figure out.
A
What's
matchup.
left for who's left for Cowboy at this point. I mean, he hasn't fought Dustin Poirier, which is an interesting fight. Do we see Conor versus Cowboy? Maybe, but is he going to stick around just for that fight? And where's Conor McGregor's situation?
I'll tell you this: anybody would stick around for Connor. Let's just go ahead and put that out there.
Yeah, but what's Conor McGregor's situation? Is he going to come back to UFC? Is he not going to come back? Is his outside problem going to get in the way of him coming back in the first place? There's a lot of question marks about Conor McGregor.
Agreed.
So is Dustin Poirier is the only available option, and after that, it just I don't know. I really don't see a reason. Now, if he loves to fight, he loves to fight, and you really can't talk anybody out of that. But at some point, someone has to sit down and talk to him. Maybe, okay, what's the game plan here? Are we just gonna keep fight to fight, or are we still aiming for a title?
This is what I'm getting at. Take the break, man. Take the break. It does not hurt you. Take the break. Take the rest of the year off. Reevaluate. We have what? No, October, November, December. You got Halloween. You probably dress your kid up in something crazy. Got Christmas coming up, Thanksgiving. Celebrate those holidays like you usually do. Get the family time. Reassess, and then you know what? Move forward. Maybe get booked by the end of the year. Maybe get booked for a fight next year.
No, he doesn't.
You don't think so?
No, not at all.
I don't want him to fight, but I bet you he'll push for a fight by the end of the year. I bet
No,
you
he's gonna push for it. He's gonna push for it. That's what we got commissioned, and hopefully UFC will step in and say no, you can't not fight.
Well,
I mean, he's had 4 fights in this year alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's and like Flathead Politics said, and I agree. CTE should maybe be a concern for Cerrone. He's right.
I'm interested to want to know what I mean. This is just like a future question for UFC, I guess. Like what I guess what research or what have they set up for fighters in the future, or at least like some type of testing in which they can take care of their fighters, not take care of them, but like provide things for their fighters in the event that eventually one of their fighters is found to have one of their retired fighters is found to have CTE. I think this is a very big point to bring up because you remember Babalu Sobral from the UFC. Apparently, there was a post on MMA Mania saying that he can barely see out of one of his eyes.
Wow.
Yeah. It's very sad little article they wrote about him and having possible CTE and like him not being able to see out of one of his eyes. So I agree. I think CTE is a very big, real concern for Cowboy Cerrone, which is why he should take the time and just reassess what the goal for the rest of his UFC contract should be. And it's hard now with the number 5 guy because now that guy jumps ahead of you, and with the division being in the state that it is, a title shot is very unlikely, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Title shot, very unlikely.
I want to read what Flathead Politics says. Again, he's been great throughout this whole entire show. He said, who would you guys rather interview on your show? John Jones or Tyron Woodley?
Ooh, well, I think my brother would say Tyron Woodley because that's his favorite fighter.
Yeah.
I would love to interview John Jones.
I'm kind of torn between two. Like my thing is, I would love to interview a fighter that nobody knows about. Like I want to be like again. I'm a journalist. I went to York College here in New York and got bachelor's degree this year, which is awesome.
Yes.
And I think there's more to an interview with people that you don't know and the stories that you don't hear about, rather than like the big stars. But if I had to choose between John Jones and Tyron Woodley. I'd probably leave with Tyron Woodley.
Here's I'm gonna give my situation for both. John is without a doubt the greatest light heavyweight of all time, right? I want to know his mindset and a few other things because he was on John Rogan, but I want to know his mindset now. Who he thinks is like kind of the big deals in his division and like talking about the state of the division. I want to hear that. But when you interview, the reason why I would have Tyron Woodley to interview is because I think now hear me out. Tyron Woodley, you can make a case for him being if not GSP is the greatest welterweight champ of all time, right? Let's just say that. But there's a very strong possibility that Tyron Woodley could give him a run for his money at the time, both in their prime. I really would want to hear Tyron Woodley's thoughts on that, and also Tyron Woodley is the greatest of my UFC life, and like me knowing UFC, he's the greatest welterweight champion of my age.
Of your
I
era.
truly don't think of my era. Thank you. My era. I mean, Kamaru did beat him. Don't get me wrong, but I think a rematch would be different. I truly think a rematch would be different. I don't think it goes the same way as the first match.
And Flat Politics also says, which one of those two guys would more likely do the interview? I would
Tyron Woodley.
Tom Woodley. Yeah.
And let me tell you why, because that brother is a cool brother. Not to say John Jones isn't, but I feel like Tyron Woodley probably would. I mean, John Jones probably would too. You never know. I mean,
you party with him in New York, so who knows?
hey, listen, man, I would love to see. That's the thing, right? We end up in some like dock in Brooklyn, and now we're like, yo, what the fuck is going on? I don't know, man. But
Well,
nah,
you already did it already. You already did it with John Jones.
yeah, I wish, man. I truly wish, man. Man, that'd be a cool night, yo. Only problem is I won't get in trouble. That's it. I want to get in trouble.
Exactly.
He's a good dude, though.
He's a good dude. All right, man. So, you don't think Cowboy should retire?
I don't think he should retire, but I think he needs to take time off. That's my final answer. I don't think retirement is yet, but please take the time off. Please take the time off. Reevaluate, heal up, reassess the career, and then we move forward.
I think after his next fight, he should probably consider what's next.
That's fair. That's fair. I think this is the fight to consider what's next, because now again you move from 4 to 5.
Right.
You're at the cusp of the top 5, right? Which means that you either have to fight the guys ahead of you, but most of the guys ahead of you, 2 of the guys ahead of you have beaten you, and 2 of the guys you haven't 3 of the guys you technically haven't fought because Khabib is champion, and he hasn't fought him yet. But it's going to be so much harder to get to that number 1 spot now.
Yes, especially with it being jammed up the way it is now.
It's just not easy.
Yeah. All right, moving on. So Glover Teixeira beats Nikita Krylov by split decision. Krylov by split decision. Did you have a fight for Glover?
Yeah, the fight should have been 2 rounds. Fight should have been unanimous decision. I understand why it was split decision.
Yeah.
But in reality, if you think about who was landing, you think about control and actual things like that, like some other like real plausible factors, and not just like moving forward, but actually doing something. Right. I would have given it to Glover, like probably by unanimous. But I mean, the split decision makes sense though, if you think about it.
Yeah, but I mean, here's a stat for you. So they both were equal in strikes. Both landed 59 strikes total. Nikita had 43 significant strikes to Glover Teixeira's 32. But you factor in Glover Teixeira on the ground, and that what surprised me about this fight was Nikita's grappling. That was surprising.
Not to say it wasn't displayed, but I mean, from here to here, the man is grappling is it's good. The man's grappling is good.
It was a oh crap moment. I want to say oh shit, but oh crap moment when when Nikita got Glover on his back.
I mean,
he was looking for the rear naked choke. That was surprising to me.
Okay, 2 things that were surprising to me. Glover has adopted this style now that is a lot more BJJ heavy. Have you noticed that?
Yes, I have.
It's no longer standing and trying to, box your head off. It's
right.
He's grappling, get you to a dominant position, and then finish you or submit you. Very smart, gets longevity in this sport. Very hard to deal with when you have a guy who's 205 pounds who smothers you. Right. Very hard to deal with. 2, the boxing of Glover is still as good as it was back in the day.
Oh, absolutely, man.
I mean, because Nikita was throwing these jabs and he was just firing off the right, catching him with hooks. I mean, he would start with the cross and
overhands.
He would start with the overhands. He would start with the cross right, and then the left lead hook. And he was catching, he was landing. But Nikita from when he was in UFC earlier in time till now,
he's grown.
I mean, the guy looks good. The guy's striking is good. His ground game is. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. I think it's a tough fight for Glover. It's a tough fight to fight, and for anyone to fight Glover. The only people who've ever really beaten Glover are John Jones, and someone else.
I'm glad you said that. So, just just off the fight. So Glover beats Nikita. The third round was also cool to see. Glover go for submissions, go for the guillotine multiple times. He went for, I believe, a armbar as well.
Went for armbar. It was a little late. It was late
Yeah.
in the round. He went for armbar.
Yeah, so again, he's adopted more of that BJJ style in their fights, and I like it. He's getting older. He's about 39 years old right now. He's still doing the damn thing.
Almost turning 40. You're right.
Yeah. But wherever from on Twitter, Corey Anderson says, you gotta love how the commentators are talking Glover up and how great of a fighter he is. But when someone mentioned I beat him, is Glover washed up? Yet he's still killing these young cats. Still, put some respect on my name.
You know, there may be some validity to that statement. There may be some validity to this statement.
No,
not to Glover being washed up.
Okay.
To put some respect on Corey Anderson's name. I don't think he by any means is an easy fight for anybody. That's the issue.
Yeah.
I think he deserves more respect than he gets. Doesn't mean he's like the highest of the highest or the pinnacle or the apex predator like Randy Orton. You know what I'm saying? Randy Orton was that dude RKO you out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Let's just be like, oh, what's that RKO? You know what I'm saying? Catch you midair RKO. He's not that guy. He's not that savage. But I do think Corey Anderson deserves a little bit more respect. I agree. He's one of the only few people who beat Glover. Glover hasn't. He's only lost I think 3 times in UFC, maybe 4 tops. Out of how many? Huh?
Lost to Gustafsson, lost to Corey Anderson, and lost to John Jones. Yeah.
I mean, Gustafsson at the time he lost to Gustafsson was one of the. That was a great fight, by the way.
Yeah.
Alexander Gustafsson, come back when you're ready. Take the belt. Do your thing. No, Corey. I mean, this Corey guy Corey Anderson deserves more respect. Joe Rogan's a very big advocate for Corey Anderson.
I want to ask Flathead Politics if he's still on. I believe he's still on. What do you think of Corey Anderson? I want to hear your thoughts.
What do you think? Yeah, please tell us what you think. Also, Tyriece, what you think? You were asking me, but what do you think?
I think Corey Anderson is a good fighter. I think his style doesn't really get the attention, and that's the issue. And he's also not a trash talker. He's not somebody that's braggadocious. He's not somebody that's gonna. He's doing it more now. Now so more than ever. He's doing it now. Now call people out, going at press, going at events like going at John Jones events, and calling them out, and he's making noise on Twitter, and good for him. To me, it's just like he needs to have that one performance where it's like that's the next guy.
Like Khabib. Okay, I don't want to use this as a standard, and I'm probably going to hell for it. But that Khabib versus Khabib versus Edson Barboza was like, yo, did we just watch 3 rounds of this?
Right.
A performance like that against Johnny Walker?
Yeah.
Tyriece, hear me out.
No, that's going to be instant for Corey Anderson.
Hear me out. Corey Anderson does what Khabib did to Edson Barboza to Johnny Walker. If that happens, I don't know. That man deserves all the respect in the world.
Flat Politics says, I saw him on the JRE show. Newfound respect for Corey. JRE speaks highly of Corey's work ethic and cardio. Yeah, I mean, he has I've never heard a complaint about Corey Anderson's work ethic. I've never heard a complaint about Corey Anderson's dedication. I've never heard any stories about that. The only thing that you ever hear about Corey Anderson is that he hasn't had that one performance that makes him stand out. That's the only complaint about Corey. He has all the parts. He has the cardio. He has work ethic. He even has the ability. It's just he needs that one performance. And maybe Johnny Walker is it, but he fights in Madison Square Garden, UFC 244. Maybe that's the one performance that will make people look at Corey Anderson differently.
I think you're right. I think when it comes to the performance, we have to. I think it's not just when people say performance too. We're not talking about just being able to completely beat somebody. Yet we're also looking for things like being able to some people have some people get hit and get hurt and can't come back. It's very reasonable to be hit that heavy or to be hit that hard. Doesn't seem like it's easy, but there are
Right.
some guys who do come back and some women who come back from that too, from these hits and like are able to win. Very big example of someone who was getting beat and then came back to win with a body shot, Stipe Miocic, you know?
Yeah.
These are I think John Jones said it himself, and I think after the first Gustafsson fight, he's like, I had to dig deep for this
Mm.
one. I had to dig deep because it just wasn't looking good. John Jones knew that he was losing, and he was able to pull it out in rounds 4 and 5. So I think that's what people. You're right. I think that's what's missing from Corey Anderson when people bring him up. But it's nothing to take away from him because in his fights he usually dominates everybody. Not like he's like wrestling them completely and they're smothered or anything like that. But like he's beating these guys 10-9, 10-9, 10-9 rounds. So
Mm.
I don't know.
Flathead Politics says Johnny Walker is still hurt, is he? No, I think Johnny Walker he's fighting UFC 244 in Mexico Garden. They announced
Yeah,
that
he's
fight.
that fight is still going. That fight's still on. I know he dislocated his shoulder, but that's
Yeah.
fine. And I think there was like a knee injury or something like that for circling around online, but I don't think he's been pulled from the card yet. So as far as we know, what is it 240
4.
244? I think he's
Yep.
still fine for that fight.
Yeah, and to Flathead Politics' credit, this is he still hurt? I think there's been some videos that he hasn't really been throwing his right arm, so maybe that's a warning sign there. But as far as I know, the fight's still going on.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
we're gonna be there too also. So
We are going to be there in Mexico Garden.
yeah.
Flathead Politics, you're going to be in Mexico Garden. Hit us up. We like to see you out.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be a good time there.
And you
But
said yes. You said yes. That's what I meant. Yeah, yeah. I believe his right shoulder is fine. I think training videos there've been some warning signs that maybe his right shoulder still hurt, but we'll see. We'll see in Mexico Garden, man.
yeah, we
Who,
will.
let me ask you this: Who does Glover Teixeira fight next?
Well, give me one moment to pull up the ranking, unless you have it already up for light heavyweight.
I have it right here. So number 1 is Daniel Cormier, who's questionable. See what his future is at light heavyweight.
I've always wanted. Before you go any
Yeah.
further,
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to see that fight at light heavyweight. I've always
That
wanted to
is
see it.
that is one of those fights that as a what could have been, right?
Yeah, that's gonna always be a what if fight. Always gonna be a what if fight. Like, what happened if he fought him? I'd always be curious because it's a very interesting matchup. You have the wrestling versus the jiu-jitsu, and then you
Yeah.
have the boxing of Glover Teixeira, which Cormier. I want to see how he would have dealt with that. That's the biggest thing. So,
Whose boxing is better, Glover Teixeira's or Cormier's?
mm,
Is it a trick question for you?
it's not. It's Glover Teixeira, right?
Okay,
Glover
there you
Teixeira
go.
has the better boxing, but when you think about it, right?
Mm.
Daniel Cormier's ability to land for someone who doesn't have Daniel Cormier's ability to land is a lot more often than you would think.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? That's the
yeah,
thing about Daniel Cormier because you don't think he'd be able to hit you as many times as he can hit you, but he can hit you that many times. And I
yeah,
think when you doubt that he can hit you, that's when he's able to beat you. You
yeah.
know, so that's one of the bigger things. I do think Glover Teixeira's boxing is better, but I wouldn't doubt Daniel Cormier's boxing if you catch my drift in that statement.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying.
I
So
wouldn't be like it's like leaps and bounds. It's just that I think that he's a better boxer in general.
yeah, I think you're right on that one. So with the rankings, so Daniel Cormier is number 1, Thiago Santos is number 2,
Oh, I
Anthony
just figured. Yeah,
Anthony,
sorry, go ahead.
Anthony Smith is number 3,
Mm-hmm.
Dominic Reyes is number 4, Jan is number 5, 6 is Alexander Gustafsson, 7 Corey Anderson, 8 Volkan Ozdemir, 9 Glover Teixeira, 10 Alexander uh Alexander Rakic.
Alexander
Rakic.
Rakic. Alexander
That
Rakic.
sounds about right. So that's the top 10. Honestly, I could see Glover fighting either Volkan Ozdemir or Alexander.
Okay, all right. Hear me out here.
Sure, go ahead.
Hear me out here.
Yep.
Glover just beat Nikita Krylov, right? So he submits his position at 9.
Mm-hmm.
Ozdemir is not fighting anytime soon, right? Because he just beat Ilir Latifi.
Latifi. Yeah.
So Corey Anderson's fighting our number 11 guy. Jan
Johnny Walker.
is probably wrapped up in a fight. We just don't know it. Thiago Santos is
No,
out.
yeah, he is. He is. He's fighting Jacare.
Oh yeah, he's wrapped up in a fight. So he's fighting Jacare. So he's out. Cruz is fighting. Sorry, Dominic Reyes is. I said Dominic Cruz. That's how you know I want the man to come back.
Yeah.
Dominic Reyes is fighting Chris Weidman at MSG.
No.
Is that MSG?
Boston.
Is that Boston? Oh damn, I thought it was MSG.
Which is a missed opportunity.
Very big. It's a very easy opportunity they could have put. But when is the Boston fight card then?
Boston, I think, is October 18th.
Huh. Interesting.
Which honestly, again, to your credit, that's a missed opportunity. You should have had.
I would have put
the New Yorker fighting in MSG, not in Boston, where if you are a New Yorker, you know Boston is the worst place that a New Yorker can fight in.
Not a fan of us. No, not a fan. But hear me out.
Yep.
What is Anthony Smith doing at the moment?
Well, Anthony Smith beats Gustafsson. So I don't know if you do Anthony Smith versus Glover Teixeira. Glover Teixeira is ranked number 9. Anthony Smith is ranked number 3.
Let me tell you why.
Go ahead.
Because some people may consider what do you call that? Some people would consider Glover a gatekeeper, right? Some people could. I can understand the argument can be made. I don't always believe that. And gatekeepers in some divisions, not all divisions, argument could be made for sorry, I keep saying Gustin.
Glover.
Or Glover.
Yes.
Now you have Anthony Smith back to the title is to beat the top guys. And I'm looking at this list now, and I don't know if too many people can beat Glover. And I think even though Glover is ranked as number 9, I think Glover gives a lot of these guys a problem. So if you shut Glover down early, right? If you beat him now, the likelihood of you finding him again towards fighting for the belt is less likely. So I think if Anthony Smith wanted to really take that fight, he could. I don't know if he would, but I would love to see that matchup, truth be told. And if not Anthony Smith, I'd have to go Vulcan. But do what you want.
Flathead Politics, we're interested to see what you think. Elijah thinks that an Anthony Smith fight is a good fight for Glover. I personally do not see that. I just because I think Anthony Smith is already en route for a title shot. If there was given a person in the division a title fight, it probably would be Anthony Smith right now. Let's see what happens with Dominic Reyes versus Chris Weidman and especially Jan versus Jacare coming up soon. But if he was to get a title shot right now, probably with Anthony Smith. I think Glover fighting either Volkan Ozdemir, who came off the TP win, or Alexander, who beat Jimmy Manawa. That's a good fight.
Those are good fights. Those are truly good fights. Good fights. I agree. I just would love to see Anthony Smith versus Glover Teixeira, though. I feel like that's such a good fight because you have these two guys who are so good at the ground. And because I don't think the fight goes to the ground between these two guys. I think the fight stays on the feet, and it's just it would be a good fight, truthfully, in my opinion. That's a crazy matchup.
I can agree. That's a good matchup.
It's a good matchup. Will it happen? That's a different story. Good matchup. Sorry, I keep going off tangents because I want these. That's a good matchup, man. It's a good matchup.
Flathead Politics says that's a hard one to answer. He said he's gonna go with Smith versus Glover. So he agrees with you.
Think about it, right? Because you want Smith. If you want to build up Smith again, okay? Because they built up Smith to fight Jones, and I mean it's not like he did terrible in the fight, but he just didn't do the best he could have. But that's that. It's two things: a testament to John's ability to make fighters look not as good as or not as great as he is. But then it's also like what it's like to fight Jones now. Now you go back to the drawing board, you fight these fighters who have fought Jones, and you fight these fighters who haven't fought Jones, and you bring the best of those two worlds together to possibly get another title shot. And I think out of the top 10, Glover is one of the more dangerous guys, in my opinion. I think we need to see a little bit more from certain other fighters, but Glover's a beast, man. Glover's a beast.
Speaking of which, Flathead Politics says, I'm waiting on you guys to touch on John Jones' last fight. I think since you brought it up, John Jones beat Thiago Santos. I thought he went away from his game plan of trying to take Thiago Santos to the ground and wanted to kickbox with him, which was a mistake. He should have. There's an argument that he lost the fight. I thought he still won the fight. But the argument could be made that Santos won.
I think yeah, you're
Right.
right. You're right. The argument, a lot of people, I've got that at work where the few people I was talking to, they believe that John Jones lost that fight.
I still had John Jones winning that fight, but it wasn't by a large margin. And I think
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I think that if John Jones was to fight Santos again, I think he would learn from that fight. Or maybe it's ego gets in the way. He wants to stand with Santos. But if he says, Flat Policy says, if Santos wouldn't got hurt.
I'll say this. There's a lot of what ifs, right? If Santos didn't get hurt, it'd be a different game.
Right.
But when you rewatch that fight, although Santos was throwing some big, heavy shots, Jones stuck in there with them. And they weren't all clean.
Yeah.
That's another thing. They weren't all clean. John Jones stood in the pocket with him. Now, Tyriece, we talk about this almost every time we bring up John Jones in any situation, whether it be face to face, during this, on the phone. When is the best time to beat John Jones?
When John Jones does not expect you.
Exactly. That is the first time you fight John Jones. Because after that, John Jones makes the adjustments. John Jones shuts you down. I mean, it is pure evidence of this in both Gustafsson and Cormier's fight. Now, in the Cormier fight, he did get popped for something at the end of the fight. But besides that, he finished Daniel Cormier in the third round, I believe, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Third
round by head kick. The man baited him with body, go to the body, then went to the head.
Right.
Beautifully timed head kick. With the Gustafsson fight, he even said at the end of the fight, if you hold Gustafsson down, that's how you keep him down. It's not enough just to take him down. You have to keep him down. And the way to keep him down is to hold him there. And once you hold him there, that's when you can get him. Took Gustafsson's back, flattened him out, and then TKO'd the man. I mean, John Jones makes those adjustments. The Lyoto Machida fight, very big example of John Jones' fight IQ, I guess, or creativity. After the first round, when he was throwing the leg kicks and Machida kept going over the top, Jones would fake the teep kick or fake the leg kick, through a Superman punch, or I guess through a jab or cross. I can't remember what it was, but then ended up dropping Lyoto Machida. And then caught him with the standing guillotine, and then dropped him out of the guillotine when he fell asleep. I mean,
which is still a nasty replay every time you see it.
I mean, I think that will forever be a UFC highlight. Like that, there's no way. Like even with what's going on now with the crazy knockouts and whatever you want to call it, I mean, that in its own right was just nasty. The standing guillotine, pulled back, walked him to the fence, and then dropped him.
Yeah. Flathead Politics also says, was Jones intimidated by Santos? No, I don't think Jones was intimidated. I think Jones sometimes has this ego thing. Not sometimes. He has this ego thing where he wants to beat you at your own game. So I think he went into the fight saying, I could take Santos down, but I'm going to beat him at his own game. Which he does with Glover Teixeira. In his fight, he stayed with Glover Teixeira. Which he did to DC. He took DC down and went to make a statement there. So he has these fights against people where he wants to make a point and his ego takes over. He wants to beat you at your own game. I think that's what happened.
And the sad part about that statement, Tyriece, is that he does it.
Yes,
he does it. Now, I don't want to say he beat. I don't. And the Santos fight, the stand up. I thought the stand up was pretty even to a degree. I mean, it came to certain points. I don't think either of them got off too much and too less. But I think in the overall, if you rewatch the fight, Jones wasn't as hurt as many people thought he was.
No, I think it was hurt at all. I think I think one of the things you know about Jones is he takes the shots pretty well. Like even for a person that doesn't get tested a lot in exchanges, he takes a lot of hard shots pretty well. He took Santos' biggest shots would have dropped lesser men, and he still kept fighting. So no, I don't think Jones was intimidated by Santos. I think Jones is a good striker, not a great striker, and when you're trying to strike with Santos, who's a better striker than you are.
Yeah.
I think that's where you get the hesitation, and that's where you get Jones not trying to Jones not trying to engage enough.
I think that's one of the bigger things. If you're going to beat somebody at their own game, you have to understand what their game is, their holes, and Jones knows that he's not going to sit here and throw leg kicks the way Santos is going to throw leg kicks and things like that, right? Jones is going to stick to what makes him good, and the reason why Jones is good is because of his creativity that goes behind his striking. It's not that his striking is just like his striking is good. Do not get me wrong, but Jones's creativity in terms of striking, it's when to throw the elbow, when to throw the oblique kick, how to throw the oblique kick, the situation to throw the oblique kick, the way he puts you against the cage and pushes up on he makes sure he gets the double unders and pushes up on your shoulders and make your shoulders go up, the locks, the positions he puts you in while standing and clinching. I think that's the way he mixes those is what gives him his great stand up. Not just the fact that he's like a this 5-time Muay Thai world champion. That's not John Jones. John Jones is just able to understand what his opponent is good at and make them uncomfortable on the feet. And so that's why I appreciate John Jones as a striker he is.
And Flat Plus, we appreciate you. He says, I'm not trying to get you guys off track, but I appreciate that interaction. No, yeah, we appreciate you, man. You've been a part of the show today. We appreciate you.
Listen, man. We would do this no matter what. We would. I know we have a show planned, but we're here to talk about MMA, and John Jones is MMA, and so it happens.
And it all goes together when you talk about the light heavyweight division. It all goes together, and who's next for Glover Teixeira. Looking at the aspect of that division, John Jones is still a king. We talk about Glover Teixeira, who's going to fight next. Obviously, you guys like Anthony Smith. I'm not opposed to the idea. I just don't know if that's next.
It's hard to say, right? Because you have the number 3 guy fighting the number 9 guy. It's a little bit of a jump. I understand that. But when it comes to competition and putting on an excellent fight, right? That has a good fight because that cements Anthony Smith saying, "This is my time," right? But if Glover beats him, that's saying these young guys can't compete with me. Give me what I want, and that's another shot at John Jones. That's all I'm trying to say.
It's a good sell job, man. I'm warming up to the idea now.
Listen, man. I learned from some people who also co-host this show, so go
That's
figure.
Right. That's right. All right, man. So let's speed through this. I know you got homework to do. You got classes and stuff.
I do.
All right, so let's speed through this. All right, so Todd Duffy versus Jeff Hughes. That goes to no contest. It was a wild fight while it lasted.
Yeah. I was impressed by the other guy. I don't remember his name. I was very impressed by him.
Jeff Hughes. I think he was an LFA champion, I believe.
Very impressed by that man. Very impressed. Solid striking.
Yeah. Todd Duffy knocked down Jeff Hughes actually in the fight, and the fight ends with Jeff Hughes did an eye poke. I don't know if it was really dug in or that didn't really matter. Todd Duffy says that he can't go on. Said he was seeing double vision. Wanted to rest. Doctors came in, stopped the fight. No contest. I thought it was a good fight while it lasted.
It was a good fight. Very, very, very high paced for a heavyweight fight.
Let me just ask you this. It's not really much to talk about this fight in particular. Let me ask you this. Do you think Todd Duffy wanted out of that fight?
It's hard. Part of me says yes because I don't think he wants to fight anymore. I think he did this just to see if he could fight because he's been away so long and he's always been an advocate for like what fighting does to people and like it just doesn't seem like he wants to fight, which isn't a bad thing. But maybe let's see if he agrees to run this back because if he agrees not to run this back, I think he didn't want to fight anymore. But if he wants to run this back, then that gives me this idea that maybe this really was just the eye poke that was stopping him from fighting.
I agree. I think we don't know. I think you really can't say what Todd Duffy's was feeling it during the fight.
Mm-hmm.
You can interpret that maybe he didn't want to continue that fight. But you can also say maybe the double vision thing was a big factor.
He got in the replay. He got poked. He definitely got poked.
Yes, 100%. But no contest. So we'll see if they run that back. All right, my fight of the night.
Bruh.
I
mean, again, it is the fight of the night. I truly think these guys go home with 50,000. No, well, one of them goes down.
Home. One of them can't. The question is, does Tristan Connolly go back with both the awards because Michelle can get it?
I know what happens when a guy misses weight.
Mm-hmm.
he forfeits, I think, 30% of his purse.
Yes.
Is it? But I don't know if that goes to the other fighter or if that goes back to UFC. I don't know if the 30% that the fighter loses when they miss the weight, miss their weight, if that goes back to the UFC or goes to the other fighter.
I want to read what Flathead Politics says. It says, speaking of Duffy fight, it says, I think he didn't want to continue after the guy poke. You know what? Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to look at that and say maybe he didn't want to continue after that fight. Like any other time, you would see somebody take a second and compose themselves to continue. But yeah, I mean, you could definitely see if he didn't want that fight.
He didn't want that fight.
And he said Michelle Pereira. Help me out, Elijah. Last name.
Spell it.
Pereira.
Pereira.
There you go. I'm horrible at spelling. I'm a journalist and I'm horrible at spelling.
Luckily, I'm good because I am also a bio major or former bio major. So
there you go. He says. Good. So Flathead Politics says, what do you guys think about all of the antics minutes before the fight? Flips and dancing. I knew that dude was going to gas himself out.
Yo, that was the funny. I mean, don't get me wrong though. That dude's athleticism's out of this world, but it's just not made. He did gas him, and we talked to each other about this. He gassed out. He like you can't do that. And I mean, I think it would have been a different fight, but I think some respect has to be done to what's his name, Connolly.
Yes.
Connolly he put the pressure, never let up. He did get hit. He did catch a body shot, but he always followed up with the pressure. And he started getting a little bit more crisp with his hands towards the last round. So, I mean, in a fight, right, it was a clear mistake that happened. Clear mistake, right? This guy over using this energy for whatever. But I think it's his fault.
I also want to say, to answer that question, I think it's a double-edged sword. I think we want to see him be that, have the antics, have the doing backflips and dancing, stuff like that, because that's entertaining. However, I don't see that style winning against a lot of people. Now he beat Danny Roberts, which is not an easy opponent at all. But I don't think that style of him doing even going to the octagon, he was doing backflips and dancing and stuff like that. So I don't think that's gonna work in the UFC.
It's nice. It's fun to watch during a fight.
Yeah.
I don't think, and then this is again, I don't. This is the question about him because this guy's never, he hasn't really gone to a second or third round really in the UFC because he's winning, he's beating these guys by impressive moments. But I think as long as you stick to a game plan like Connolly had, I think you're able to beat him. And I think if he doesn't change after this fight, that he's not going to be able to grow as a fighter.
And I even texted you, I even called you and texted you. I said, there's a couple of things you can take from this fight. One, he wasn't bad on the ground. He wasn't horrible on the ground. He was able to defend positions and multiple times. He was able to defend the takedowns multiple times. He even took down Connolly in the fight.
In the second round, he took him down, and he had him there for about over a minute actually for the almost half of the round. He had him on his back.
Right, and even though he gets tired and he exhausted himself out, he still was able to keep himself together throughout the rest of the fight. So even though he was tired, he didn't look like a fish out of water. He was still composed in certain areas. So that's a positive. But I think that style does have to change. Let's go about the numbers real quick. So in the first round, total strikes, Michelle 18 out of 35, Tristan 28 out of 52. So even though he was doing all that wild offense, he really didn't do a lot with it. Round two, Michelle had 33 of 59. Tristan had 46 of 73. And in round three, Tristan just blew him out the water. 5 of 13 for Michelle. Tristan had 77 of 97. So, again, that style, even though it's flashy and it looks cool and everything like that, he really didn't do anything really with it. And that's going to be a problem. And yeah, Tristan, compared to him, he came in on I think 4 days' notice. And I think you could say a star was born tonight.
Star was born, and again, keep in mind, this guy went up in weight.
Yeah, it's not even his natural weight.
Not even natural weight. Guy fights at 155, so that's a good thing to keep in mind, people.
Great jiu-jitsu.
Great jiu-jitsu. I mean, I think this is the point I was bringing up with you earlier because, again, fighters have to make the 170 weight limit, for which your guy Michelle didn't make it. It is what it is.
2
But
pounds
you're allowed to gain 20% of your body weight back. And this guy is not a 170-pounder guy. Like, he's not walking around at 170. He's probably walking around at close to 190, maybe 185, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about it, and then our guy, Connolly, is a 155er who probably didn't cut weight for this fight. So he's probably naturally around probably 170, maybe 175 at the most, right? Now, if you notice, the size was different. And the reason why in the beginning, in the first round, Michelle was able to overpower him in order to get away from certain positions and get out of certain positions between rounds 1 and 2. And I think that's what led to him being tired, is that he was using power over technique. Because he was able to push him off when he was in full guard, and he was able to kick him out, or he was able to push him up or move him off when he was in side control. It's you see that when you have a guy who's smaller than another guy, right? That can happen based just on power alone. But the issue became that he was using too much power to do this and not enough technique. And I think that's one of the reasons why it led to him being tired as well.
I agree. I think, again, that style is going to have to change. There's some things you could look at, but more credit to Connolly for stepping in on 4 days' notice, taking a guy that people, it's hard to train for, and he looked impressive again in his home country. What else can you say, man? He's on a 5-fight win streak.
This makes number 5.
Yeah, so I want to see him in lightweight. I want to see what he does, and I'm looking out for Connolly.
Agreed. I'm interested now. I've bought into the stock.
Uriah Hall beats Carlos Jr. I said it right. Carlos Jr. Yes. By split decision. If the last fight wasn't fight of the night, this one is right behind it, man.
It was a good fight, very back and forth. I thought the groundwork of Antonio Carlos Jr. was great, but I also thought the stand-up with Uriah Hall was again something that was good as well. I think it proved that he's still a match for many people on the feet, and his jab was solid all day. So I'm impressed. I'm glad that he still has it. Very split decision, right? You said?
Yeah, split decision.
It was good. I think that when Carlos took his back at the end of round 3 and held on to him, I think because he didn't have much, although he's in good position, so the ref can't bring them up. However, he didn't do much with position as in terms of hitting him and then trying to go for submission. So I think that's what maybe led to the Uriah Hall getting that in the judge's eye.
Let me pause for a second. Do you want to get your charger real quick?
Thank you.
All right, so I'll continue going on. Elijah has to get his charger. He's texted me just now saying his computer is dying, which again I appreciate your generosity of going get your charger and still talking at the same time. But yes, just continue on. Yeah, Uriah Hall looks really good. I think it's a mature Uriah Hall. I think before he would throw these spinning back kicks and these spinning wheel kicks, and it was highlights after highlights. At a certain point, it didn't work on the top contenders. Seeing him stick behind his jab, which was great. Seeing him, not wilt under pressure from Carlos, because Carlos was really putting it on him with his submissions. Didn't wilt under it at all. I thought the left jabs were clean. And, I thought Uriah Hall definitely looked impressive. He's on a 2-fight win streak. He beat Bevan Lewis last year. Now he beats Carlos Jr. I want to see more from him. He called out Israel Adesanya.
At the end of the fight.
What do you think about that fight?
That's a good fight. I'd pay to see it. Nah, I'd probably just want to watch that as a fight night. I don't know. I think it's a good matchup. I
love how you talked up Uriah Hall and say, nah, he's probably a fight night.
Probably a fight night. I think it'd be a fight night card. I would like to see that fight if it ever came to fruition, but Uriah Hall's got to get there. Whew, that's a murderous row of fight is. That's a hard. I don't think that fight will ever come to fruition.
I'll tell you what. Now is probably the best time. I don't have the rankings up right here right now. But just look at that division and thinking about. Talk about Jacare Souza's moving up, Chris Weidman's moving up. You have Yoel Romero talked about moving up in the past. Who knows? He's going to move or not. But that division is changing. So now might be the perfect time for him to rise up.
I think, yeah, you do have a lot of those perennial contenders. The guys who've been there putting in the work over the last few years are moving up in weight. You do see that.
Exactly.
But I don't, how would I say this? I don't know if that fight comes to fruition. And the only reason why is because we still have guys like Del Romero there. We don't know if he's going up to 205 yet. It's been
No, we
hasn't been
don't.
decided. We still have Kelvin Gastelum, who's a young
Right.
man who's competing. We're
Darren
going to
Till,
get Darren Till, who is Darren Till's in 185 now, so that's also correct. We still
yeah.
have Bobby Knuckles. Even if he loses to Adesanya, I still think that a fight with actually he beat Uriah Hall. I think he knocked him out. No.
No, I think he knocked out Derek Brunson. He didn't beat Ray Hall.
So then it's just like he can fight some guys. It's gonna be so much harder. It's gonna be so much harder for him. But I'd be interested in that fight.
Yeah, I think down the line that could be a great fight. If Uriah Hall keeps up what he's doing now, I think it could be a great fight. I think the striking of Uriah Hall is interesting.
No, just to go back.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, not to interrupt. I don't like interrupting. And I don't like to be interrupted.
Sure,
He lost to Robert Whitaker in UFC 193.
really?
And that was unanimous. I remember that fight. That was the Holm versus Holly fight. I'm telling you, man. I remember that fight. You want to know why?
Why?
Because Holly Holm head kicked Ronda.
I go back to looking at Ronda Rousey's fights, and I just think if she would have did what Khabib does now, and just focused on just her grappling and just worked a little bit on her striking, but just looked mostly just getting somebody to the ground.
Set up the striking's just enough to set up the ground.
Yeah, I think we look at a different story. I'm just reading Flathead Politics. It says, "Guys that jump off in a few minutes. How often do you guys plan to live stream? The commentary is top notch, fellas. I watch Chill's show and Luke's shows. You guys are just as good. Thank you, man. That is the greatest compliment I've ever received.
Hey man. Who's Chael? That's the question.
Who's Luke?
Chael? Who's come on, man. That's the question. Who's these people? No, we appreciate that. It's a beautiful
Yeah,
compliment. Man.
it's very humbling. It's very humbling, I gotta say. Yeah, we usually do these shows on Sunday.
Sunday.
Usually it's Sunday at 4:00 after you get to do jiu-jitsu and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you do Sundays at 4:00. We're thinking about doing more of these after the fight recaps, and even doing possible fight companion, watching the fight and talking through it live.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we were talking about today was the fight companion, and actually, it'd be interesting to get more people onto that maybe one time. So that's some ideas we got working out. We're trying to finalize some ideas, make sure the show doesn't stay too stagnant, but we want to make sure we grow. That's the best way to stay alive and have longevity, I guess. Got to grow.
And we're also you mentioned this earlier. We're also looking at interviewing fighters as well. I have a couple of fighters in mind that I do want to interview, and I'm going to reach out to pretty soon. So please also look out for that as well. And Chael Sonnen and Luke Thomas both have huge shows. Yeah, I am more of a Luke Thomas fan. If you look at if you do get a chance to look at my other videos we do as well. I mentioned Luke Thomas a bunch of times. Luke Thomas is one of the people I look up to as a journalist in MMA.
Yeah. I think one of the people I look up to is Chael Sonnen. Now,
Really?
No, I think I think what's interesting about Chael's show is that he does have accuracy when it comes to talking about fighters. Just fighters alone, not when he's bullshitting. When he's just talking about what it takes to be a fighter and the fight life itself, I find that his accuracy to many things is true. This goes all the way back to when Darren Till fought Tyron Woodley. He gave a little talk about how Tyron Woodley has little to no pressure against him at this point.
Yeah.
Right, because the pressure is all on Darren Till, because Darren Till he went from 0 to 100 as soon as possible. The guy fought maybe 3 or 4 fights tops before he became a title contender, and then he and he talked about fighting at home versus fighting away and how the pressure's on you. And so I think the fight where Till fought Masvidal, was that not in England?
It was England.
England. I think that was another part that I found I respected against Chael, because he talked about when fighters fight for their hometown, it's so much harder than fighting away, because when you fight away, it's fine. Like, you don't have to worry about seeing those people, but because you lose and you're fighting at your hometown, you have that much more pressure. And so that's why he made the point that Masvidal probably is chilling right now. Masvidal probably has little to no trouble at all. And then what happened that night when we watched the fight? he knocked out Till.
Yes, he did.
And Chael has a lot going on in terms of outside of the octagon. So I think Chael's commentary isn't off. I appreciate it. Now, do I think he talks a lot of shit? Oh, 100%.
No, but that's part of what makes him special as well.
I think, yeah, he's put in his time and dues. So,
but yeah, we definitely appreciate you, Flathead Politics, for commenting on this in the show. And yes, we would love to have you as a guest down the road. We definitely would love that. We definitely can work that out. But yeah, thanks for subscribing. If you can, it'd be great also to share through your social media of this link, the show, and tell your friends, tell your family of the show as well. And check us out every Sunday, usually at 4:00. But we may make an announcement on this show or on Facebook. I'm at Tyriece Simon. Elijah's at Elijah on Facebook. And we'll make an announcement on the show. And we definitely appreciate have you commenting on the show and talking to us.
We do, very much so, brother. Very much so. You enjoy the rest of your night or wherever you're at.
Most definitely. Be safe also.
Yeah.
Be safe out here. Be safe out here. And also, if you are in Madison Square Garden, we would love to see you.
Please let us know. So that way we meet up.
Yes, absolutely. He says, awesome. I have to sign off now. Make sure to put those hashtags in the title of this vid. My brothers, peace and thanks. Flathead Politics, have a good night. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you. All right, Tyriece. Final thoughts on this fight night. What are we thinking? What are we? Let's summarize how you feel about this card.
Well, let's talk about this one last fight. Misha Kirkunov versus Jimmy Crute.
Oh, how did I forget about this? Oh man, impressive.
Did I not call necktie?
You called Peruvian. You called You called Japanese.
I called Japanese necktie.
The reason why I thought it was a guillotine was because of the Jack Hermanson does these awkward guillotines where he kind of does an arm in almost. But remember how he caught? I don't know if you remember this fight, but he fought the David, what's his name, from World Series of Fighting. He was their middleweight and light heavyweight champion, the champ there. David Branch. He caught David Branch in such an awkward position, right? Because David Branch looked like he was about to come up, and he had his arm wrapped around him, and they caught the guillotine and then finished it. Now, it almost looked like he had a guillotine with Misha Cirkunov. Looked like he almost had a guillotine against, what was his name again?
Jimmy Crute.
Jimmy Crute. Yes. Tough fighter. Very, very tough fighter. It looked like he had the guillotine, but when you watch the replay, it was a Peruvian necktie. Now, the only other man to really use a Peruvian necktie in UFC history is CB Dollaway.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if many of you know who CB Dollaway is. He's been on suspension because he was flagged, unfortunately. But he's dealing with that, and he's trying to get that. He's dealing with the process of that, and he's going through it. It was a banned substance, but the man's going to be back, and he's probably going to be fighting soon as a middleweight. CB Dollaway has 2 Peruvian necktie submissions in UFC, and for those of you who don't know, it is a very hard submission to pull off.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what makes it even more impressive that he pulled off in a fight against a light heavyweight at that.
A light heavyweight, you have to have the forearm strength. What goes in Peruvian, the reason why Peruvian necktie is such a hard submission to pull off is because you're putting your leg over depending on the side, your leg over someone's back, while with your other hand, you're grabbing the neck and pulling back this way and you're sitting back. Now, if you get an awkward position, you either just slide off and go to your side, or you don't secure the choke. But what Cirkunov did was able to finish this Peruvian necktie belly down.
Yeah.
Which, I mean...
in transition, too. It was also in transition, which would make it even more impressive that he pulled it off through that.
Jimmy Crute did the right defense. It's not that Jimmy Crute did anything wrong. It's just that Cirkunov had already locked it in and made the adjustment for when Jimmy Crute did that. And that was all that took place. Right. I mean, Cirkunov is such a stocky guy for 205, too. The guy looks like he could probably snap your neck with his hand, It's a strong dude, so he's a very big guy. But for him to finish a Peruvian necktie belly down in the fashion that he did, I'm impressed. I think submission of the night. Submission of the night, instantly. It's not easy. Again, the Peruvian necktie is so hard. It's a very hard move to learn, it's not a very hard move to see and to do, but to actually lock someone in one is just it's an essence of beauty in its own right. It was such a great submission.
I agree, and to hear Misha Kirkenoff's story and how his wife was dealing with cancer and all he's been through as of late, to come back, he lost to Johnny Walker earlier this year. To come back, Peruvian necktie, in Vancouver against Jimmy Crute, who was a tough light heavyweight who's on the rise. It was a special moment. It was a special moment.
Yeah. I think a lot of special moments were made tonight. I think that's one of the good things about the cards that are in different hometowns, are different places than the stateside.
Yeah.
Like when you have the fighters from whatever place they're fighting from, when they win, it's usually a very big thing for them. So, it's like a big thing from where they come from, where they live, because it shows a little bit of pride in wherever they are. And again, this is just one of those moments that shows that, perseverance in the human is just everything. Serkinov went through a lot. He's been through a lot this year. He's been through a lot. So, I'm sure that win is great. To be back in the win column is even more amazing.
Yes, absolutely. And to the one viewer that's listening, we appreciate you watching. We'd love to hear you in the comment section as well. Just give your thoughts on the event itself.
Agreed.
All right, man. It's been a long day. I've been working nonstop. You was in school and then came home where you have to study. So I appreciate you hopping on here.
Of course.
This is a great recap. I appreciate Flathead Politics and everybody that watched this stream, and we'll do more of these in the future. We'll do fight campaigns in the future. We want to do live interviews as well. And we grow off you guys viewership, off you guys subscriptions, off you guys sharing it and giving us feedback, giving us good feedback, giving us bad feedback, just telling us what can we do to improve, what can we do to be better, and just giving your thoughts on what you think as an MMA fan. We'd love to hear from you guys.
That's all. We're not asking for much. If you want to watch. This is really for people who like MMA to get to talk about and listen to people who like MMA. It's really it.
Exactly. And again, we are two guys from New York, two friends honestly for a long time. And to be able to talk about MMA, it's what you can't complain at all. You can't complain at all.
No.
This is the best. And we appreciate you guys.
We do. We do.
All right, man. Any final thoughts on this card?
I did not expect this card to be that good. I'm gonna go ahead and be honest with you with that. Did not expect it, but then this is what we always say: the fight cards we least expect to be good are out of this world. They did great fights. So I have no complaints. From this. I did wish Cowboy didn't lose, but it happened. Gaethje is a tough opponent, and things look promising for Gaethje's future. Cowboy, I think, again, takes his time, reassess what's going to happen next, finish out his contract, and then retire.
And like I said earlier in this stream, I think after his next fight, whether it's Poirier, whatever against Conor McGregor, who knows? But I think you need to really start evaluating what is really next in my future. So, all right, man. Enjoy studying. You got more to do, I believe.
I do. I have a lot more, actually, unfortunately.
All right, and I think the next card we have is Jeremy Stephens versus Yair Rodriguez next week.
That's my boy. I know that's my boy.
It is your boy.
It's my boy right there. Yeah, man. Woo! That elbow knockout.
Yes.
I mean,
and we may be talking about a superstar in the making. He's on the cusp. He's on the cusp. But after next week, we may be talk about a future in the making.
We will.
Who the UFC needs at this point? A Mexican superstar.
And they have it with Kelvin. But
at the lighter weight classes, I think it's even more appreciated.
Exactly. I think that's the you want to have what in biology they call variation. You can't just have just one.
Yes.
All right.
So we'll do the stream next Sunday at 4:00, right?
4, maybe a little bit earlier, but like maybe 3:30. 4, yeah, 4:00 sounds about right. Honestly.
All right. And we'll usually post on my Facebook page at Tyreece Simon.
And I'll share it once it's all done.
And we'll make updates. We'll tell you the time. We'll share a link.
Yes, we will.
All right, man. Signing off. My name is Tyriece Simon.
I'm Elijah Jones.
This is MMA Renegade. Have a good night. Subscribe, share, give us feedback, and as always, just be kind to each other and love MMA. All right, guys.
This
Have a good
guy.
night.
This guy.
Later.
Later.